Hello, welcome back. Here we are again, back down the red rabbit hole. I don't know if it's naughty or not. I'm just rolling with it now, forevermore. And I'm going to come up with as many strange ways of saying the red rabbit hole as I possibly can to keep bringing you back to join us when we talk to authors and we sniff out all those rabbit holes that authors go down when they are writing their thriller fiction. And today we are joined again by the lovely Lauren North. Welcome back, Lauren.
Hello, thank you so much for having me back. I very much enjoyed my sleepover. I do need my coffee though.
I've got to get a coffee machine yet down the red rabbit hole. I don't have one.
Where are we gonna plug it in?
I'll run an extension lead from from the farmer's house all the way down. He won't mind. He doesn't mind if I steal his electricity. And so Nikki, you're still here as well.
I am. I'm always
I
here.
sounded surprised.
I know you did, didn't you? Like I'd gone away. I didn't go away. You just ignored me for a week.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I was definitely more focused on Lauren and trying to see if I could make. I was a bit like a child trying to make like coffees out of mud. Is this okay? No.
Not the same, Lisa.
At least it wasn't quicksand.
Yeah. Well, there's no quicksand down here. We don't allow it. We don't allow. But maybe if we keep digging, we'll get to Australia. That was another belief I had as a child. I believed that there was quicksand, and I also believed that if I dug deep enough, I would get to Australia.
And we all did at the beach, didn't we? We all started digging that hole.
Yeah. Is this going to be another connection we have, Lauren, that Nikki doesn't join us in?
I wonder if it might be an age thing, Nikki. Like,
I don't know. I thought it was China that you dug and you ended up in. I mean,
It's clearly Australia, other side of the world.
no, I don't know. Whenever I flush a spider down the toilet, I think you're China's problem now.
Do all the toilets lead to China?
Well, in my mind they did, but I don't know. Perhaps not.
Well, creepier than potentially going to China if you fall down the toilet, or to Australia if you fall down a hole you've dug in your garden, is the motorway service stations.
indeed.
This is my serious voice. Can you hear my serious voice? So this is my serious voice. So Lauren, tell us about what happened to you at a service station that has inspired one of your books.
I was travelling to the Lake District last year with my family, and that was with my husband, my son, who was 13 at the time, and my daughter, who was 12, and our dog, Rodney. And we all clambered out the car. You know what it's like, you've been stuck in a car for hours. It was one of the really big, busy roadside services, loads of different connections and roads. Everyone else had the same idea of traveling to go on holiday as well, funnily enough. And I had the dog who I was like desperately trying to get to drink some water, who was adamant he didn't want water and wasn't really paying attention. And so my daughter sort of said, "Oh, I'll just pop to the toilet then, shall I? I'll see you later." And I was like, "Oh yeah, off you go." Because, she always goes to the toilet by herself now. It didn't even cross my mind for it to be an issue. And I just remember looking up across the car park and her not being there, and having this awful fear moment of where we were and how scary roadside services are, because you have a very, very busy situation with so many cars and vans, and no one's paying attention to anything other than themselves. You also have a massive road network where people can like get out and go in a completely different direction very quickly. And it occurred to me that if someone snatched her, we would not know for quite a long time, because we would assume she was like walked to the wrong side of the car park or had gone out the wrong exit, and it would take us such a long time to realize. And that's such valuable time when you could just get anywhere from this middle of the country roadside services. So that was a really scary moment for me. I very quickly ditched the dog and raced into the toilets to find her, and she was absolutely fine. And then we all clambered back in the car, and I just sat there with my heart racing, thinking, well, what could have happened had it not been such a nice and like a lucky situation for me. And that created the book that's coming out in July, on the 18th of July, called I'm Her Mother, which is the story of a woman whose 3-year-old daughter Lola is abducted from a roadside services, and she has to sort of go home to her house with her husband and wait for news from the police as they hunt this person who's abducted her across the country. And then you also have the perspective of a woman who is on the run with her 3-year-old daughter, trying to keep away from everyone who's trying to get her. And both of these women claim that they are Lola's mother, but obviously only one of them is telling the truth. So that sort of, it all came to me in this car after this really scary experience I had, which luckily turned out all right. But a few people are now reading I'm Her Mother in advance, and they've been messaging me with their scary roadside services stories. And I think what I didn't realise until they started doing this was actually it's a place where quite a bit of crime can happen, like, drugs exchanges, and things like that can happen, like, because it's so busy and no one's paying attention.
And it's sort of usually 24 hours as
Yeah.
well, isn't it? They're all open all the time. And I absolutely appreciate when you were saying, retelling that, Lauren, about that sick feeling when you can't see your child. And I can't imagine how that feels when it goes on. I've had that where I remember when the first time I had it when my daughter was very little, and she just ran around the back of the car. She just ran around the other side of the car. So I kind of knew where she was. It wasn't in a roadside services, thank you. I don't let my child run around in car parks, somewhere quite safe, but she went around the other side of the car. And I had that sick feeling. Now I knew exactly where she was, but that just like, oh, she's gone out of my view. When they're very, very little, and the first time they do that, and then it never really goes away, I don't think, no matter how big they get. If you don't know where they are, you've suddenly got that, oh, hang on. And how do you go home and carry on if you don't know where your
Yeah,
3-year-old
it's
is?
really scary. And it's one of those things that, I mean, we talked in the last episode about how challenging it is for teenagers now with their phones constantly in the world that's at their fingertips and the access people can have to them. But the other side of it is they've always got their phones, and we've always can see them on Find My. And I feel a bit sorry for them, because for the places I'd go that my parents never knew about. But it does mean you can keep an eye on them and where they are, which is, you can't with younger kids. They don't, unless now, even since my kids were little to now, there's now sort of the Apple AirTags, aren't there? I'm like, I definitely would have put one of them in my kids' pockets, but like at the time, but this was, even 5-10 years ago, it was not even a thing. So
Yeah, and I also think there's more technology than that. I think there's a lot of other ways in which you can look. I can't name them at the moment. I don't have to worry about it quite yet, but it's on my radar as my children get bigger. I am thinking about the ways in which I can sort of monitor social media use, because in some ways I think that what's on your phone is almost more dangerous than what is
yeah,
outside in the world.
absolutely.
Like you were saying last time, Nikki, about how, particularly if, it's I suppose it's the manipulation, the exploitation, and getting somebody to come to you and yeah, don't tell your parents, and it is really
It's
scary.
the proverbial open window, isn't it, really? That you're leaving one window open to have access to your child. And I can imagine, I'm not a mum, I'll, fully admit that. I'm not gonna, I-
It's not a bad thing, Nikki. Like, it's okay, it's
I'm an
loud.
auntie. I'm an auntie, I'm not a mum. But I can fully imagine the strength of will it would take for the balance as well. Because obviously, at some point, they're old enough to do their own thing. They've got to have some
Mm.
independence. But, even that first time when you let them walk to school on their own, you're going to follow them. You're going to put a Mac on and some
Yeah.
shades, and you are going to trail after them just to make sure they do what they say they're going to do and they go into the school
Yeah.
safe.
The other side of technology now is I went to a cyber crime talk at CrimeCon last year, and one of the things they mentioned was that voices are being taken from TikTok and social media of your kids and are being put into a computer that can then say whatever you want them to say, and then you're getting a phone call from your child saying, I have been kidnapped. The kidnappers say you've got to send £10,000 to this bank now, or you'll never see me again. And can you just imagine getting that phone call?
AI is terrifying.
It is
Because they
terrifying.
could take the images as well,
Yeah.
all those images that you put online that might be innocent images, they could take those and kind of do what they like with
So I
those.
mean, we have a password in our house. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we have a family password.
We'll get it out of
So
you.
if anything happens at any time, like you have to say the password, otherwise it's not Like we always said, if anyone ever comes up to you and says, oh, your mum's been in an accident, you've got to come with me, you have to say, what's the password? And I don't think they probably would have done, to be honest, because if you're a kid and someone adult comes and says, quick, this has happened, you are just going to believe them. Like in the same way that if I get a phone call from my daughter saying, you have to pay this money, I'm just going to believe it, because in a difficult situation, you're not thinking clearly. In hindsight, it's just the most great thing, but it's not useful in a moment of terror.
Well, researching for this podcast, I found a case where the way in which the child was taken was quite interesting, and which child would turn down the offer of a trip to Disneyland. I mean, when I was little, I don't know if anyone remembers the adverts. There used to be the adverts for Disney World, and a face would pop up in the corner, and it would say, "You know someone who wants to go." And I used to put my face in the shape. I used to go and stand in front of the telly and be to my parents, well, you know someone who wants to go, right? Because in this case, there was a lady called Susan, or she was born Susan Priest. She was 4 years old, and a couple who were part of a traveller community came up to mother and said, we'd like to take her to Disneyland. And the mother agreed, and they said, oh, we're going to need her birth certificate, because at the time, this was in 1969, a child could travel on an adult's passport if they had their birth certificate. So they took Susan and they never returned her.
Hang on, the mother agreed.
Yeah, it wasn't a kid being manipulated in this situation, was it?
No. Sure. Take her to Disneyland.
Do you know what's a bit mean? When you read articles about this, they say she was abducted, but in bracket, like in quotation marks, which I think is a bit mean, because I'm sure the mum thought, well, she was going to come back in a couple of days. She'd go a weekend at Disneyland and come back, but no, she never came back.
That's a soft abduction, okay? But still, I don't think. No, Lauren, what do you think? Would you have let your child go to Disneyland, a 4-year-old?
No, I certainly would not. No,
it's 1969 and she's got 6 kids, right? I mean, I don't know. She listened. Maybe she didn't listen carefully.
She had one to spare. I mean, what?
No, she just couldn't hear. She was like being hundreds. She had hundreds. She had a cacophony of voices. She had mum, and she couldn't make sense of what was moaning. And she was massively overstimulated. She had a huge mental load. She thought they said, "Can we take your child over Disney shop?" Maybe. I don't know. Did Disney shops exist then? I was reaching.
You have to wonder how many times they might have tried this in the past. Like,
That's
true. The first time they went to a house.
It worked.
Yeah.
And she didn't say take them all.
Yes. You can't take just that one. You got to take all the others.
They're a set.
But it's a very odd. I mean, I can't imagine this happening now. Well, obviously you wouldn't have the passport, so you wouldn't be able, you need a passport now. But at the time they didn't. And they actually took her to Canada, New Zealand and Australia. She ended up growing up in Australia, not knowing at any point that they were not her parents. She said she had a wonderful life. She had a really enjoyable life. She was treated like a princess and had a wonderful time. And when she was, I think, about 16, she was told that we're not your parents. This is what happened. We took you from these people. These are your parents. And she at the time went, oh, okay, all right. And I mean, I'm sure it probably wasn't like that. I can't imagine any teenager would just go, oh yeah, I totally accept that. That's fine. But she just kind of went and got on with her life, just carried on. And it was only 53 years after her abduction that she was talking with a friend, and a friend said, do you not think like maybe about your family and how they might feel, and that they never knew what happened to you? And it was only at that point that she then went on social media and found her family and was reunited. Unfortunately, her mother had passed away, her biological mother, but she was reunited with her 4 or 5 siblings. I think 4 of her siblings.
Yeah, it is an incredible story. And it's one of those nicer ones in a sense that she'd had a nice life in between, because that is generally not the case.
I mean, Lauren, if you'd have pitched that to your editor,
oh, unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it is really challenging, as you guys know, as authors, because we do get readers saying, it's just so far-fetched. And I just think, what were you anticipating? If it's not far-fetched, what's the point of reading it? Like, if it's just going to be like, and this is how it really would have happened, it's really hard to sort of strike that right balance, I think, as an author, especially when you've so many books in. But yeah, even like the 2 months before She Says She's My Daughter came out, it was almost like a mirror case where a girl in the US came forward and said, I was abducted 13 years, or I went missing 13 years ago and was found. And that was Jessica Del Galdillo. And yeah, so it's just, there's so many cases, aren't there, where people are returned, and it's just such an unknown situation. So I think that you hold out hope, wouldn't you?
You would, and it does happen rarely. But one of the cases that came to my mind was the JC Dugard case in America. So poor JC was 11 years old in 1991 when she was literally abducted off the street going towards the school bus stop. And that is that, you kind of think they're safe between the house and the bus stop, but clearly not in this case.
Well, also it was literally witnessed as well, wasn't it? Didn't her stepfather see and tried to chase on his bike?
And she was unfortunately abducted by a sex offender who kept her for over 18 years, fathered 2 daughters with her. And it wasn't until someone actually realized it was on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley, where he randomly, I'm not sure what his kind of ethos was. I don't even want to know, to be fair. But he went onto the university to preach something, and one of the guards there clocked these 2 little girls with him, and what a weirdo he was, and brought the police in. And that's how they actually found JC Lee Dugard,
Yeah.
and her daughters, and got them back to the mum. So the mum not only got her daughter back, but got 2 grandchildren.
Yeah, it's such a tragic situation, isn't it? It's just hard to imagine how you rebuild your life after something like that.
And it was really sad. I listened to sort of documentaries about it, and JC was actually only a 2-hour drive away that whole time. Her mum, she never gave up hope. She never redecorated the bedroom. She always, as you tend to hear with these kind of cases, she always thought her daughter would come back. She'd find her, and she tirelessly campaigned to get her name out, her picture out, and kept the hope alive. And she actually got her wish. I'm sure she'd have wished it to be slightly different, but she got her daughter back, and everybody seems to be doing well. So it was a bit of a kind of yay in the end. But I think, unfortunately, a lot of, especially the stranger abductions, don't tend to end as well.
No, it is really tragic. And I think as an author, there is, I don't know, I feel like there's a bit of a responsibility, or I certainly feel it, with representing the characters and the victims in my stories as best as I can, in that you want to show the emotion of these people and the tragedy they're going through, and making sure you're really capturing something, I think.
They're very difficult cases generally. And I think, well, I might be just quoting from a television show here, so don't quote me on it. But most child abductions, the child will be dead within 48 hours anyway. Just purely because, the pressure, especially in America where they have it. I mean, I don't know, do we have Amber Alerts in this country?
I think so.
I think we do.
I mean, I've never seen one. I've never, because normally an Amber Alert is literally everybody's phone. It's like we had that weird thing happen, didn't we?
Yeah.
Was it a couple of years ago? The siren on our
last year,
phone
wasn't
that
it? Was
didn't
it?
make
Mine didn't go off.
Yeah, I don't think mine did. I don't think I won't be called to the bunker if it ever happens.
No, I think I was just going to be left behind. I'm obviously not important enough.
I don't know. Maybe it's the cool people that get left behind, and actually all the people going to the bunker are the ones who are in trouble.
I'll still go to the bunker, Lauren.
Yeah, but you guys are used to being down a rabbit hole. It'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
all right. We've lived
Enjoy
here long
it.
enough.
I like it down there.
But yeah, it's that when the pressure is on the perpetrator, and they know they're going to get caught if they're seen with this child, they will do whatever they were going to do in the first place, and then they will get rid as quick as possible. So unfortunately, I think most of the cases are not, they're going to be kept in the basement, or they're going to be kept in the shed for a bit and have any chance of escape.
Yeah, and I think more of the risk, actually, particularly in this country, is things like gangs and county lines and stuff like that. It's not little ones being snatched on holiday or kind of as our nightmares sort of tell us as a thing, it really captures your fear, doesn't it? Those sort of cases like Madeleine McCann and like the case in your book, Lauren, they really, they really strike the fear into you when you hear that. But actually, I think it's more likely to be the children who maybe don't have somebody fight in their corner for them, who doesn't have anyone checking up on them. They've not been air tagged. They're not being followed on any kind of app. They're going out and getting on with their own things. They've maybe got for whatever reason, there isn't anyone kind of keeping an eye on them, and they're getting involved in the wrong sort of things and the wrong sort of people. And then when it goes wrong, they need to dispose of them. They need to, get rid of them. That was a really awful way to say that. Sorry, I I regretted using the word dispose
The
as soon
minute
as I
it
said
came
it.
out, yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. But I think that's something we should almost be more afraid of, and maybe our social conscience doesn't want to look at that. We don't like to think about that side of our society, that it could also have elements of being a social problem. Having someone being snatched off the streets, we can't do anything about that, but maybe if we invested more in families, we could do something for those children.
Yeah, and then we just fall down another rabbit hole of underfunded social services in this country, and it becomes very difficult, doesn't it?
Well, hopefully by the time this airs, that we'll have more good news regarding governments and elections, and that
Yes.
there have been promises made that have been kept, and who knows?
I love the optimism.
Are we going to fall so far down the rabbit hole that we end up in an alternate universe? Because that's the only way that's happening.
Lauren, what are you down any research rabbit holes, any cases at the moment that you're looking at regarding any future books?
Oh, that's a very good question. I am currently not actually. I'm just waiting for. I'm at that sort of awful wait for Structural Edits to come back for a book that I poured my heart and soul into, and that was actually for my LC North brand. So they are fictionalized celebrity stories. So they're really fun rabbit holes to go down actually. And Clickbait that came out last year had almost elements of the Michael Barrymore Body in the Pool crime, not in the crime itself, but just in the concept of a celebrity being wrapped up in a historical crime, and how they're treated so much differently to how it might have happened if it was not a celebrity. So yeah, I sort of do love my celebrity rabbit holes for the LC North brand.
Oh, that must be fun to go and find out things.
It's a really fascinating world. Like, so The Ugly Truth, the first one was about a sort of based loosely on Britney Spears and the conservatorship and parental control over celebrities. And then obviously the second one was about reality TV families, like almost a mirror of the Kardashians, and a historical crime and a missing person. So it's really putting quite a lot of my passions into that brand.
Because it's a whole different world.
And it is, yeah. And they're treated so differently. And also how the media treat them and how society treats them is a huge thing, because as a society, we're all quite obsessed with celebrities, and I'm certainly one of those people. And the media love to put them on a pedestal, and then they love to throw things at them until they fall off. And then they like to point at them and go, oh, you fell off. So you can't win. Unless you're Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at the moment, and then you are absolutely winning. And aren't we all happy about that?
Yes, it won't be long though. But it's also what happens to the kind of sort of minor celebrities, isn't it? The people on TikTok, you get the big kind of influencers, then they get big, but then suddenly they'll do something wrong and they will be destroyed. And it kind of happens to everyone.
Yeah, and there's a lot of darkness going on social media all the time at the moment, and you cannot possibly have a debate or a discussion in the characters that you are given in a tweet, for instance. And yet, so everyone's views are so polarized. It's a difficult world, which is why I think, like you guys, I'm very happy to be in my bubble and in my stories.
Hidden down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, let's stay down here, guys. Who's got the kettle?
I've got one. I've got a little travel one.
We've
that we
nowhere
can
to
use.
plug them in. I keep
No,
telling you,
I've
you
got
keep trying to
fire.
plug them into
No,
the
no, no.
wall.
It's a travel one. We'll start a
It's a
fire.
travel. Okay, I don't think we should in
It'll
such
be
an enclosed
fine.
space.
It'll be fine.
I'm the only voice of reason here. We're going to gas everyone.
That's true. That's true.
So we are coming to the end of this episode. It's gone so quick, hasn't it?
It
It's been
has.
a lovely chat, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, you are more than welcome. Just a quick note, listeners, that Lauren North and Elsie North, all her books are available on Amazon and in all good bookshops, and of course on Audible and on the Borrow Box app as well. So do find her there and have a little look. And Lisa, have you got anything you want to add?
Oh, well, I'd say if you want a twisty, turny thriller that you won't be able to guess, because I quite like, as Nikki alluded to, I like a solution, I like an answer. And if there was anything that I didn't enjoy about, she says she's my daughter, is that I couldn't figure it out, which is a good thing because I just couldn't figure it out until the very end. So yes,
thank
definitely
you.
go and read or listen to.
Oh, that's so
She's
kind.
not my-
Thank you.
She says she's my daughter.
Remember, listeners, do follow the Red Rabbit on social media so you never miss a trick. Remember, we're also on Patreon as well. If you want to get the next episode early and some bonus content, we've put on all our what we call weird warrants,
Ooh.
which is us, going deep, real deep dive into subjects that, frankly, me and Lisa have no business diving into, to be honest, but we've done it anyway because it was fun.
Oh, it's kind of where the supernatural meets the true crime world, I suppose, isn't it? Ooh.
A little bit weird, a little bit wacky, but lots and lots of fun. So you'll find them on Patreon for paid subscribers. But do remember that you can subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening. That subscription doesn't cost you a bean, a carrot, or anything. So press that
But
button.
it fills our hearts with joy.
It does. It feels it'll fill all our hearts with joy and love and the acceptance.
Because we're like, could you call us like a baby podcast at the minute? Because we're,
No,
we're
we're
so
a
new.
fetus.
We're a baby. We're a fetus podcast.
We're fetus podcast. We're a glint in a young man's eye. That's what we are right now.
True. So yes, please follow, subscribe, write a review, be kind.
Yeah, be kind.
Thank you, and thank you as always for listening, and thank you so much, Lauren, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It was lovely having you here, Lauren. So do check out her books. We will put the links in the show notes below. So bye, listeners. You'll hear us next time. I'll get it right one day.
Bye.